Hi there yet again. This is Nathara, and this video is to discuss psychics and spellcasters that provide services to people and what you can expect from them. I'm going to go over the different types and what their real purpose is. There are several different types of psychics, and I'm going to discuss empaths, tarot readers, mediums, people who speak to spirit guides, and clairvoyants. A psychic isn't limited to having just one ability, so there's a lot more of them than what I've listed here. But these are just the ones that I run into the most often. So an empath is somebody who can feel other people's emotions. Sometimes this is confused with clairsentience, where people can feel tactile items, like sitting on a hard bench, as opposed to feeling depressed. Empaths can often, when they're strong enough, find out why a person is feeling that way. And this can reveal a lot to us, because sometimes we feel things and we don't know where they're coming from, and a strong enough empath can tell us where they're coming from and what's causing it. This is commonly a secondary ability. A lot of psychics have it. So the next type of psychic I want to discuss is a medium. Mediums are able to communicate with souls that have passed, and they can relay messages, ask questions. The next type is people who communicate with spirit guides. These are people who are familiar with their spirit guides, and sometimes also can speak with other people's spirit guides to get information about a situation or a person and figure out what paths are available. So they can provide a lot of information on that, and they often speak to their spirit guides just like they would talk to someone else. The next kind is a clairvoyant. Clairvoyants are a really interesting kind of psychic because they just get whatever. They'll get images, they'll get information, it'll just be data that's suddenly in their brain. They might hear a voice, they might get a tactile sensation, they might get an emotional sensation. So a lot of times they kind of have a touch of everything, but it mixes up in a very interesting way to form clairvoyance. So the last type of psychic I want to discuss is a tarot reader. And tarot readers are people who have developed a learning and understanding and often a bond with a tarot deck. But tarot readers have learned a way to use the card to answer questions that are asked, or just see the general future and a lot of other things like that. So what you can expect in a reading is that you're going to meet up with, by person, phone, internet, however, they're going to meet up with a psychic, and you should be able to ask them your questions. Some psychics prefer really general questions. Some psychics only want very specific questions. Some psychics are comfortable with love questions. Some are comfortable with career forecasts. There's a lot of different things that a psychic can be comfortable with. So you want to go to a psychic who can answer your specific questions. So the next thing you want is to make sure that that psychic can communicate with you clearly. If there's accent problems, communication issues, word usage issues, anything like that, then the information that they receive for you is going to be completely useless because they won't be able to communicate to you. And you can ask them how they conduct their readings, what their process is, how a typical reading goes, what the average length is, things like that. Sometimes there is a question that a psychic cannot answer. They should usually be able to tell you why. For instance, sometimes I am not able to get an answer with my tarot cards, and for me, when that happens, it's because finding the answer is part of the lesson. So the last thing I want to discuss is the purpose of getting a psychic reading. A lot of people think that psychics can tell the future. And that is only vaguely true. Psychics can tell you the probable future. If everyone continues their path just like they normally do, then that's what's going to happen. If someone does something insane and hops on a plane to India, and that's not in their usual pattern of behavior, not a decision they had already made, it can disrupt the future. People do have free will, so the future is changeable, and that's not a bad thing. Sometimes we want to change the future. And in that case, a psychic should be able to help tell you what other paths are available. Now, so too can psychics kind of just give you a path, and how you go down it is up to you. Say, for instance, you're in a situation where you've had an argument with someone and you want to resolve the situation. And you want to know how to do that. A psychic may tell you that what you need to do is reach out to that person that you had the argument with and let them know you aren't angry. Now, whether you do that by text, phone, in-person meeting, a cute little note on their locker or desk, that's entirely up to you. That's the important part. If something happens is coming up in your future and you don't want it to happen, you can ask them what other paths there are. So you can actually change the future. In that situation, the future that the psychic predicted shouldn't happen if you take the steps that you need to. A lot of times the concept is to change the future. Don't ever forget that we have free wills, and we are responsible for our lives. The only thing that people can do is lend you energy and show you what's out there. That's it. What you do with it is entirely up to you, and no one can take your free will away. So remember that. When it comes to talking to spellcasters, what they primarily do is take an assessment of the energy around, either through your feedback or reaching out and looking at your energy themselves, or just plain asking what energy you want in your lives, and then they can either teach or cast for you and encourage that energy flow into your life. So they're not going to change things magically overnight. They're not going to, when you wake up in the morning, you're suddenly going to be in a mansion instead of your dorm. That's not going to happen. But what they can do is they can bring in the energy of prosperity. They can bring in the energy of a move. But that doesn't, like I said, it doesn't magically change things overnight. So if you're planning to do something like move and you get a spellcaster to help you out, you still have to look for a place to move. Alright? I hope that makes sense. And if it doesn't, you can always ask me questions.